Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Let's dive headfirst into this episode. I want to pose a question to you. And that question today is a bit of a hard-hitting question. And I want to elaborate on that question in terms of what it means if you answer yes, which my assumption is that you will. And that question is, do you really want to change lives? And the emphasis is on do you really want to, because it is easy for experts in the wellness and health space, practitioners who want to transform the lives of their clients and to share value and expertise with their audience, who have a passion for solving a certain set of symptoms and alleviating pain and discomfort from those who suffer from a particular ailment. It's very easy for you to answer yes to that question. I do really want to change lives. I really want to help people. And you come to this work, I know as you listen to this podcast, you come to this work from a place of really deeply and sincerely and compassionately desiring to help people, to change lives. And yet, if you answer yes to that question, what you also need to be willing to answer yes to is a bit of a short list, which we're going to dive into today, a bit of a short list of questions that also suggest that you're willing to do a few other hard things that will enable you to drive that agenda forward, to change lives, to truly change lives. And my area of expertise, my passion for you is that you master the business side of things, which is truly uncomfortable for most wellness experts that come to me, with the exception of clients who have come from maybe a corporate background or have experience in the world of marketing or sales, and so naturally gravitate to the requirements of building an expert business being to sell and to market and to be visible and so on. But the vast majority of clients that I work with are wellness experts and health practitioners who feel uncomfortable with these ideas of visibility, marketing, and sales. And yet, if you answer yes to that initial question, do you really want to change lives? Then you also need to answer yes to questions like, are you fully prepared to get good at selling? Are you willing to get uncomfortable with being visible online and sharing your expertise, even when some other people might disagree, even when you're experiencing imposter syndrome, even when you're not sure if all of that effort is going to translate into results, i.e. getting clients? You have to be willing to do hard things. Are you willing to do hard things? Is a question that exists alongside the are you really ready and do you really want to change lives? Because they coexist. Your desire to transform the lives of your clients coexists with your readiness and willingness to go on this journey of business mastery as well. The two things enable one another. You've done the work. You're listening to this podcast because you are already qualified to change lives. You're already in a position where you have the skills and expertise to transform the symptoms or help your clients overcome their discomfort or pain or their struggle. And yet, to enable you to drive that goal forward and to fully realize that goal, you have to be willing to do a few other hard things, which is why I want to explore this topic with you today, to really challenge you to understand what the yes to that question actually means. And that if it raises some nerves or some worry or some hesitation or some resistance, that there's something for you to focus on to help you. Because in my experience, there's a frustration that so many wellness experts experience, and that is, I so want to do this work. I so want to help clients. I so want to show up as an expert in this field. I so want to be the go-to person in the field of nutritional therapy or movement or functional medicine or something else. And yet I see a disconnect with the willingness to get uncomfortable and do the business side of things, do the selling, do the marketing, do the visibility piece. And I know that it's challenging, but with that desire to change lives has to come a desire to also learn to master business, to put on that hat, to don the hat of entrepreneur and business owner, and to take that part of your identity really seriously. I am an expert in a field of health and well-being, and I am a willing entrepreneur, willing to learn the art of selling, to learn the art of marketing. You have to be willing, if you're a yes to that question, I really want to change lives, you have to be willing to do hard things. You have to be willing to do hard things even when you don't feel like doing them. And I'll give you an example of some of those in a moment. You have to be willing to take action when you aren't 100% certain that it's going to get you the result that you want. And what that really means is falling in love with the work of business mastery, falling in love with the process of learning how to sell and the part of that journey where you experience no, you experience rejection, you experience resistance. There's one particular client inside my Consistent Clients program right now who has been having consistent inquiries into her business. In fact, last week she had 6 inquiries and she got 6 no's in a row. And what I greatly, greatly admire about her conviction is that as well as wanting to change lives, she is also in this committed desire to get better at converting those inquiries into paying clients. She is committed to getting better at those discovery calls. She's committed to keeping on going, keeping moving forward, despite the unbelievable weight of disappointment that those 5 inquiries did not convert into paying clients. Her unwavering commitment to the bigger picture, to the long game, which we'll talk about in a moment, is what indicates to me that it's not just lip service that she's paying to this ambition to want to change lives. It is a genuine commitment to all of the other hard parts of pursuing that level of ambition. We can't just talk about wanting to transform lives. We have to be willing to do some of those hard things and overcome some of the disappointment and frustration of not being able to completely and confidently navigate all of the other elements of achieving that outcome. So loving what you're doing, loving the work that is involved in getting you to the goal. Falling in love with that and not just the outcome, not just the clients that will eventually come, not just the accolades, the awards, the best-selling author title, the hundreds of thousands of followers. All of those things need to be a bonus if you really want to transform lives. And a lot of experts that I witness in this space or that come into my programs experience that feeling of disheartenment. They're disheartened because they have posted for a couple of weeks on social media and haven't woken up to an influx of clients. You know, they have sent out a few emails and it hasn't transformed their business into a 6-figure business. Or they've booked a couple of discovery calls and none of those discovery calls have converted into paying clients. And it leads to this frustration. And that frustration leads to a decision to discontinue because it perpetuates a belief that it's not working rather than the opposite of that, which is it is working. Doing the work and getting the rejection and the frustration and disheartenment, that is the work. That is the work of progress towards your goal of mastering these things. It has to be difficult before it gets easy. That's just the nature of learning a new skill. They have 1 or 2 discovery calls and they don't convert to paying clients, and they assume that a whole host of stories. They assume that there just aren't clients for them, or that people aren't willing to pay for that service, or that it's too hard to get clients. And that story plays louder than this more accurate story, which is you just need to give yourself time and permission to get better at these parts of pursuing and realizing your ambition to transform lives. This is just part of the journey of mastery. You have to face those challenges before it gets easier. This is the journey. The work is the journey. The disciplined daily action when you don't feel like doing it, which is why alongside that question, do you really want to transform lives? You also have to ask yourself, are you really prepared to do the hard things that come along with building a business? And it's such a cliche, but I'll say it anyway. If it were easy, surely more people would be doing this, because as part of your ambition to build an online business and to transform lives, you also have this ambition to have a life that is full of freedom, financial abundance, that you are in control of your own destiny, that you set your own hours, that you get to work with people that you love. And most people would say that they want those things, but most people are not willing to do the hard things that come alongside that. And it's so easy, especially if you proactively follow a lot of successful entrepreneurs on social media or listen to podcasts with successful leaders. It's so easy to assume that it was easy for them, but it's hard for me. It's so easy to look at somebody who is 10 years down the road and gloss over the fact that it was once extremely difficult for them, that they have put years and years and years of proactive, disciplined action into place and are at a point in which they are realizing the fruits of that labor. There needs to be a willingness alongside that. Yes, I want to transform lives. There needs to be a willingness to delay the outcome of success and prioritize doing the hard things, the showing up, the getting good at selling, the getting good at marketing, the getting clear on communicating your message, all of those things. It is about playing the long game, being prepared to play the long game. If you want to be considered to be that go-to person in your field, to be that expert, to be the person that people queue up to work with, to be the person that friends tell family and other friends and colleagues about as being the go-to person in their field. So asking yourself, is this really the work that I want to do? Am I prepared to, as well as doing the fun stuff, do the hard stuff, as well as delivering the client work, which is what you love doing, getting results for clients? Are you willing to hear 5 no's in a row before you get a yes? Are you willing to experience the rejection before you experience the yes? Are you willing to graft and to put in the work before you get recognized as the best-selling author? It's so interesting because so many people that come to me wanting support have a dream of being a best-selling author, of being the go-to person who is on the New York Times best-selling author list for their area of expertise, and yet are unwilling to sit down and write every day, even when they don't feel like doing it. You don't become an award-winning author without being committed for years and years and years on end to writing the crap version, to finally get to the good version. And, you hear the stories of best-selling authors, J.K. Rowling, who sat in a cafe on food stamps, struggling to pay her bills day in, day out. I actually went to school with a girl who worked in a cafe in Scotland where J.K. Rowling used to come in every day and write, and she used to sit at the same table and write every single day relentlessly in the pursuit of her goal, and loved the work. Loved the process. Was it always easy? No. But to get to that outcome, to truly realize your goal of changing lives, there has to be a commitment to doing the consistent, daily, disciplined action that others are not willing to do to get there. I recently had some of my clients on our group coaching call for consistent clients just engage in a little exercise of having a look at some of the experts that they follow on Instagram, just as an example of this coming to life. And, we looked at experts who have garnered audiences of hundreds of thousands of followers. And we, in correlation with those hundreds of thousands of followers, looked at the number of posts that particular expert had shared. And they weren't in the tens, they weren't in the hundreds, they were in the thousands and thousands of pieces of content, of pieces of value, of pieces of expertise, of being visible, shared, in order to build that correlating success and that accolade of followers. Okay. And the conversation about, do followers translate into sales? That's another conversation. But my point is, if you want to be seen and revered as an expert in your field, if you want to be the person whose legacy is that he or she or they changed lives, then you've got to be prepared to put in the work when it's hard, when you don't experience that reverence, when you are purely showing up and doing it in a way that may feel uncomfortable and that may not have a guaranteed result attached to it, falling in love with doing the work. If it takes me 10 years to get there, am I willing? Am I willing to double, triple, quadruple, 10x the value that I'm currently offering? Am I willing to, or am I prepared to hear no more times than I hear yes? Am I willing to do uncomfortable things that others won't do? Will I still be passionate about this subject matter in 5, 10, 15 years' time? Am I still going to be willing to talk about it? There is a necessity to be able to answer yes to those questions if you also sincerely want to be able to answer yes to the question that I asked at the beginning of this episode. Do you really want to transform lives? The answer to these questions will determine whether you have the conviction needed to become an expert in your field. And I said it at the beginning, but this episode is designed to challenge you in your thinking, to challenge you and determine your readiness, your willingness to change lives and your commitment to that cause. I hope that this has triggered some thinking for you. Perhaps it needs a little bit of time for you to reflect on it, knowing that the journey of building a business is not easy. It can be simple, but it's not easy. If it were easy, then so many more people would be going on it. But you're here, you're listening to this podcast. I know you want to transform lives. So now it's time to challenge yourself with all of those other questions that I asked too. I'd love to hear from you as always. Come and connect with me on social media. Let me know what this episode has prompted for you in terms of sparked new ideas, new motivation, new drive, a new force with which to continue moving forward. And I hope you do, because you certainly have the value and the skills and the expertise to change lives. So now it's time to make that happen. See you in the next episode.